Great day, everyone. I am so excited to be chatting with you guys today for the very first episode of the Jereshia Said Show. I'm super pumped about this. This is something that my audience has been asking more of on a consistent basis and excited to be able to give it to you. Today, we're going to be talking all about how to hire your first virtual assistant. So this is something that is new for me in my business, and I know that a lot of you are at a new space in your business where you are looking at hiring, trying to start positioning your business and brand to start outsourcing, and you need to know how to do it. So I just want to share with you guys what my process was, because I just hired my first legit part-time virtual assistant in my business. And I just wanted to share some, tips and tricks that I learned along the way to assist you guys in your process too. So as you guys are hopping on live, thank you so much for joining. If you're catching this in replay, I really appreciate your time. I would love if you guys pop in the comments and just put a 1 in the comments if you are trying to hire your next virtual assistant or your first virtual assistant. So just put a 1 in if you're looking to hire. Hi, Nikki. Hey, Renee. Hi, Gina. Hey, Aaron, Roxine, Sarah, Tamisha. Hello, everybody. So pop in the comments and let me know, just put a 1 in the comments if you are actually trying to hire. Put a 2 in the comments if you've already hired somebody, but you need a better process. I'm just kind of interested to know where everybody's at and all of that good stuff. So just pop that in the comments and let me know. Put a 1 if you are looking to hire, and 2 if you already have hired, but you are looking to increase, improve your process for hiring. Because I have a really cool freebie for you guys, and I'm going to just show you guys all the things that I did to really get me rocking and rolling to hire my first VA. So I see a lot of people popping on. Hey. The cool thing about these Facebook Live shows, so for those of you who are new to me, or maybe you've been around and you've hopped around with me a lot, again, my name is Jereshia Hawk. This is actually these Facebook Live shows are going to be available on YouTube as well as via a podcast. So more to come. Hey, Mark. Hey, Treasure. She said, girl, not yet. I'm learning in advance. Yeah, I think it's good that you guys are already showing up and watching this content, because it's going to prepare you and set you up to be able to hire a lot more successfully when that time does come. So just so you guys know, I'm going to redo my little intro or whatever, because this will be transcribed and turned into a podcast later on down the line, which is really really cool. So as people are popping in, we're about to go ahead and get started. And I am working off of some notes, because I took a lot of notes to make sure that we have what we need to be successful for this. So just pay attention to that. Hi, Janae. Or is it Janet? Hey, Crystal. Okay. So again, we're going to pop in and start going right now. Okay, guys? Good to go. So again, today is all about how to hire your first or your next virtual assistant for your business. And what we're going to be learning today is, 1, how to determine what needs to be outsourced in your business in the first place. So regardless if you're at a position where you're ready to hire, or maybe you're just building the building blocks of your business and you want to start proactively preparing for this is really going to be helpful for you, so you can start keeping track and documenting processes now rather than waiting. 2, we're going to learn how to create a job posting that actually gets people excited to apply for your position. And 3, how to review, evaluate, and select your new hire. So as you guys have questions watching this live or catching this in the replay, please pop your questions in the comment section. And at the very end, or if it makes sense throughout, I'll be answering your questions. But just feel free to continue to pop those in the comments as we're going along. So first and foremost is, how do you even determine what you're outsourcing in your business to even begin with? And before we even talk about what tasks need to be outsourced, I think it's really important for you to understand what is your budget and how to create a budget to even be able to afford being able to outsource regardless. This is something that I really don't see talked about as much when it comes to hiring and outsourcing. And that's one thing that for me was really important. So I personally use the profit first method in my business. If you're not familiar with it, definitely go check it out, read the book, check out the website. But it's really a very simple process that I follow and that millions of other people follow across the world to manage their finances for their business. So if you have not checked out my income report, this pretty much details it in there as well. So if you want to see like really the numbers of how I operate and build and run my business, you can download the income report on my website. But basically high level is about 30% of my overall business income goes to an expense account. And when it comes to expenses, I break down my expenses into 4 core categories. And if you are interested in, again, getting the PDF and downloading and seeing all this broken down where you can really go along with it, there is a free PDF cheat sheet that I made for everybody for this episode. So you can either click the link in the comments or click the link in the title of this description to get that. But basically, 30% of my overall income goes to covering my business expenses. And my business expenses categorize into 4 different categories for me personally. One is tech. So this is like the software, the tools, the systems that I use to actually run and operate and facilitate my business. 2 is travel. I like to travel. And, you know, being a business owner, typically you might have to travel. So that's one of my categories. So that includes for like flights, hotel, food accommodations when I am on the road. 3 is training. So I preach it, but this is something that I personally do in myself. This is my personal development. So I have a budget for my personal development and investing in myself. So that's for the coaches that I hire, the masterminds that I join, the books that I read, the courses that I take. So I have a budget for that in my business expenses. And I also have a category for team. And team is what we're going to be talking about today, outsource. And this is all the amazing people that I will be hiring to actually support my business. So freelancers, contractors, consultants, etc. So those are the 4 categories that I use and sum up to what I mean by the 30% of my income goes to business expenses. My business expenses is primarily broken down into those 4 core categories. And when it comes to team and outsourcing, and I break down all the percentages for how much money on average goes to each one of those 4 categories in that PDF cheat sheet. So if you want to see that, feel free to download it. But about 10% of my overall business income goes to 10% of that 30% goes to actually covering the cost of my team. And your percentages might be different. And that's completely okay. This is just for me what has been true for the first year in my business. This will change based off of how much income I generate. So typically the more money you bring into your business, the higher your expenses, just because it costs more to run and operate a business that's generating more income. But for where my income is, this is really what's worked well for me. Again, I would check out the profit first method if you're trying to figure out what your percentages are, or go back and like look at your numbers and go back and calculate how much money were you spending in these different categories throughout your course in business, and just what is your norm, and then you can use that as your percentage, you know, to like help you determine your numbers. So based off of all of that, you know, again, 10% pretty much of my income goes to covering the cost of my team, and that now becomes my outsourcing budget. So I like to know how much money I have available to even spend before I even dive into trying to go out and outsource, because sometimes at least for me, and let me know if any of you guys can relate to this, been at a point in your business and you know that you can't keep operating by yourself as a solopreneur, but you have no idea what you even really can afford to outsource as far as a budget goes. So this is why I like to always start with the numbers before I dive into the details. Okay? Is that making sense for everybody so far? So really, where's the notes? So I like to figure out what my budget is primarily. And for me, it's about 10% of my income goes to covering the cost of my team. And then now it starts talking about what tasks actually need to be outsourced. And again, I created this cheat sheet because talking through this is going to be helpful, but having a visual example really nails home the point. But first, I like to create a detailed list of everything I'm even doing in my business on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And you want to get as granular and as specific as you possibly can when it comes to this task, because when you make your list of everything you do in your business, this is really going to set you up for success. So you know what can be outsourced, what should be outsourced, and it'll make it really easy for you to create your job posting if you got really specific in this space. So for those of you who are not ready to hire, or those of you who are like, I know, girl, I need to hire like tomorrow, I would give yourself, maybe 3 to 5 days, and actually start going, like, as you're going through your day and like showing up in your business, I want you to literally write down every single thing that you're doing. And what I mean by that is, like, don't just say social media, say like, schedule social media themed posts for Facebook group, accept new members into Facebook group, create content calendar for Facebook, create content calendar for Instagram. Maybe you have a membership group and you have guest experts. It's like, reach out to all potential guest experts, follow up with potential guest experts, collect video recording from guest experts, send thank you card to guest expert after the session has been done. Like, get as specific and granular as possible. And this is why I think for those of you who are at a space in your business where you're not ready to hire, but you're trying to be prepared, why this is going to set you up for success. Because if you're documenting this all along, it's going to be 10 times easier to roll that into a job posting or to hand that over to a team member. So first thing I like to do is create a really master list of everything you do on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis in your business. Accounting, going through your numbers, paying your taxes, like all the things that you do, like renewing your LLC form, all the things that you do in your business. And if there's things that you're not currently doing, but you know that you need to be doing, add that to your list. So basically it's everything that you currently are doing or that you know you need to be doing. Make like a master list of all of that on your sheet. And that's on page 3 of the PDF, of the cheat sheet. But now that you have that master list of everything you currently do in your business, now it's time to break that out into categories. And one thing for me in regards to building your business and running your business, it's really important for you as a business owner to not be trying to do all of the things, right? Like it's so important for you to outsource and hand off everything that is not in your zone of genius and that's not in your zone of excellence. Mainly because, like, for me personally, I love the numbers. I love diving into the data. I love being able to just show up and support and coach and mastermind with my clients. I'm really good when it comes to Facebook Live content, but when it comes to like transcribing my videos and turning those into email or dealing with the tech and setting up all the tech stuff that I need, like, I can do it, but it's not really my zone of genius. That's not the thing that lights me up. And as you're growing in your business, you can't operate and continue to grow exponentially if you are doing everything in your business. So once you have the detailed master list of all the things you need to be doing or you're currently doing in your business, on page 4 of the cheat sheet, you'll notice there's a 4 quadrants that you're going to break out all those tasks into. And this is something that I got from Nicole Jackson Miller. This is something that Jordan Gill also talks about. These are amazing people when it comes to system support, team, hiring. These two are like really experts in that space, but I got this tip from both of them. And the 4 categories are: what are you good at and enjoy? This is really like your zone of genius. This is really the things that light you up. The things that go in this box, there should probably be like 3 to 6 things in this box. This box should not have like a million things in it. This is the thing. What are you good at and what do you enjoy? This is really, where is your zone of genius? The next category, the next quadrant box that you'll see is what are you good at but you don't enjoy. And you may have a little bit more in that list there, but these are the things that you're good at doing but you really don't like doing. So you put those items in there. And the thing that, before we even go into the other 2 quadrants, because I noticed when I was going through this exercise myself before I did hire, it was like, oh, I'm good at everything. Oh, I can do everything. This is an opportunity where you really have to be honest with yourself and not just say, like, I know you're great. We know that you're Superwoman or Superman if you're a fellow watching this. We know that you're capable, but like, you really need to be honest about what you're putting in these quadrants because, again, there's no successful business out here operating and running where it's just one person doing everything. So check yourself, be honest and transparent. Just because you put things in a different category does not devalue your capabilities or your worth or what you're, able to do. So just check in with yourself before you go and do that. But so you have, what are you good at and enjoy? What are you good at and don't enjoy? But the bottom two categories are the most important, because these are the things that you're really going to focus on outsourcing first. But the third quadrant is, what are you not good at but enjoy? Those two quadrants are tough for me to answer, because what am I not good at? I'm great at everything. You got to really check yourself, okay? And then finally, what are you not good at and you don't enjoy doing? And you should be bottom heavy, meaning that those bottom two quadrants should have most of the things listed in them, and you should have less in the top two quadrants. So the good rule of thumb here is you actually start outsourcing the things that are in those bottom two quadrants first. Yeah, Mark, all of this broken down in the cheat sheet. The 4 quadrants that I'm talking about are on page 4 of the cheat sheet. And this is why I made a cheat sheet, because talking about it verbally is helpful, but being able to see it visually and you being able to work through it is really important. And that's why I made the cheat sheet for you guys, okay? So thank you for asking that question. But yeah, so basically everything in the bottom 2 quadrants is where I would start trying to outsource first. Because if you're not good at doing it, you don't enjoy doing it, those things probably take you more time to get done, which means that's less time for you to be able to sell and show up in your business and actually perform in your zone of genius and do the things that light you up. So I'd recommend trying to get rid of those things first. So that really encompasses what needs to be outsourced, the tasks that need to be completed, and budgeting for your outsourcing. And really that's just with the 4 quadrant example. So let me know if there's any questions just about that, how to determine what needs to be outsourced in your business. One thing for me when I was going through this that was helpful is I was honestly so I would start detailing out, cause I was trying to get super specific, right? And it got kind of hard after a while, cause I don't know how granular to get. I don't even know. There's probably things that I could be outsourcing that I don't even know I should be outsourcing just because I haven't reached that level in my business yet. So one thing that I started doing is actually researching other virtual assistants and seeing what services they provide to see what services they provide to kind of spark my imagination. So for everybody who's watching this live, the PDF worksheet will be sent out right after our live stream is over, okay? So just hold tight. Right after the live stream is over, you guys will actually receive it. So you'll get it right after the video. But one thing that I did, I just mentioned, is I would go look at other virtual assistants and look at their websites and see what type of services do they even provide for their clients, because that might spark my interest or help me think through what are the different things that I should be outsourcing or could be outsourcing in my own business. So whenever I was getting stuck or I felt like I just, you don't know what you don't know, I started doing research. And that was a really huge tip that helped me really get specific about what tasks and how to communicate those tasks to a potential VA by actually researching other VAs and seeing, the things that they do in their business. So that's kind of a Jereshia said tip that I think to me was super helpful. Okay. So moving on into the second point that we talked about that we were going to make sure to cover for you guys is how to create a job posting that gets people excited to apply for your position. One thing that I was shocked about when I just put up the posting for my virtual assistant position is over 70 people applied for the role, which was mind blowing to me. Over 1,800 people viewed the job posting itself. I just didn't think that many people would be interested in working with me, to be honest. And I thought hiring would be a lot more difficult. I had an influx of candidates actually, which is also another, if you don't have a process in place, can also be an overwhelming problem to sift through and rake through all those candidates. But the constant feedback that I got about the executive virtual assistant position was that the job posting was so well done that it made people want to apply. It got people excited to want to work with me. And I just wanted to share some of the things that I did that helped really position myself for that. So first and foremost, like I created a job posting with very specific tasks to be completed. And this is really goes back to step one and you getting very granular and specific in regards to what it is that you need and what needs to be outsourced. And the more detailed you can get, it helps somebody who's applying for the job, like really get a very good understanding of what their expectations are and whether or not they can perform the tasks. So that gives them a bit of confidence right out of the gate before they even apply for your position to be like, I can do this. So I got really specific about what the tasks were and I broke them down into bullet points on the website. I also broke down all the different tech tools that they would need to know. So like I put down Canva, ConvertKit, Asana, Slack, Zoom. Like I put down all the tools that I use in my business so they have a good understanding of what technology am I using and what are they going to have to know or become familiar with so they can integrate well into my business. Then I also put down perks. So, you know, working for me, there are perks. Like pretty much if you work with me, I don't like having somebody come into my business where they're just doing stuff for me, but I really like to pour back into my team. So if you work for me or on my team, one thing that we're going to be consistently doing is like, we're going to be checking in with what are your personal goals? Where are you trying to develop and creating your own educational plan? There's opportunity for you to travel. I do plan on doing like yearly team meetings, hopefully, depending on how big the team gets. So there's other perks, you know, you have perks of being able to work remote and work, you know, with flexible work hours. So I like to detail that out and not make that assumed, especially since we're in the online space, because that's really important to me. And again, if somebody's like spending their time to like dedicate time to their team, I want them to be excited and feel like they're fully supported if they were to come and start assisting me with my business. Another thing that I did, shout out to Jordan Gell, because she made this video for me, which was just warmed my heart. But I got really like, I really shared my personality and gave a very good glimpse of what my company culture is like. And inside of the cheat sheet, you guys will see on, let me see what page it is. On page 5 and 6, you guys will see specific examples of what I'm talking about. So, you know, don't worry about taking a ton of notes, but you guys will see that on page 5 and 6 of what I'm talking about and what we're explaining and what to put in the job posting. But I put like very, you know, people, if they looked at the job posting, like they could get a very good glimpse at who my company culture is, what I'm all about. And my business bestie made me a very cute little video that shows like a behind the scenes of what it looks like to work with Jereshia Hawk. So yes, that takes a little bit of extra time to put into it. But again, like just because when you're hiring somebody, you know, they're also hiring you. Like they're looking at, do I want to work for this person? Is this somebody I want to be giving my time to? Like they're interviewing you just as much as you're interviewing them. So it's not always about like what you want, but also like what are they going to get? And you need to make that very clear in your job posting about what somebody would be able to gain from being able to work with you. So those two things were huge. I also created a job posting landing page. So I made it a very quick landing page in Lead Pages. Very similar to just like a one page on your website that had everything listed and that looked professional. It looked clean. It was simple, but it was still branded. And I think that also, again, for a potential candidate goes in to show that like you do care about this position. You are willing to put in a little bit of extra time and effort to make it presentable. So I recommend like going that little bit of an extra mile and creating a very simple like landing page for your job posting. Also is, that's really the main categories there, that I wanted to cover in that point. But let me know if there's any questions about how to create a job posting that gets people excited to apply for the position. I think the biggest takeaways here are get very specific on the tasks to be completed and don't just put like these super high level vague descriptions of what they're going to be doing. Like I think the more specific you can get, the more excited somebody will be because they can make a very clear distinction on whether or not, you know, they can or should or will be working with you. I think another thing here when it comes to your job posting, somebody might be asking the question of where should I put my job posting? And I want to make sure that we answer that because I've gotten that question quite a few times. So where to actually put your job posting? For me, I started with my community. So the first thing that I did is I posted my job posting in my Facebook group. I posted my job posting, I sent out an email to my list. There's a few Facebook groups that I'm very active in. I posted my job posting in there. You know, first read the group rules to see if it's appropriate or if it's possible, if you're able to put a job posting in somebody else's Facebook group. But I put job postings in the Facebook groups that I was very active in. That's all that I did. People were naturally sharing my job posting with other people, sharing my job posting in other Facebook groups, sharing my job posting in their Facebook groups. And that is the thing that drummed up over 1,800 people viewing my job posting and over 70 people applying for my job, which to me, again, is bananas. Mainly because it's like just leveraging your community. And if you've been feeding your community and then you give your community an opportunity to work with you, I think when you find the best candidates, when you pull people who already know your business, like, pretty much a lot of the people who applied for my role have been following me for some stint of time. So they're already familiar with my brand. They're already familiar with how I operate. They already are familiar with like my tone of voice and how I serve and support my clients. So that cuts down the learning curve from like getting to know you type of perspective. So that's where I started. If you do not have those relationships built or do not have that community, I would recommend checking out like Upwork or like onlinejobs.ph and posting your job there. I think there's more specific nuances that come into play when applying for your role on somebody else's like job posting site. Craigslist is another one. But I think if you have a lot of these core things done, again, you're going to be able to find and attract really, really high quality candidates. Okay. So thirdly, the last point that I want us to drive home today is how to review and evaluate and select your new hire. And for me, this was the process that I followed. And again, this was detailed out on page 7 of the cheat sheet. So there's a 3-step process that I followed for actually like going through the candidate application process. And I'm going to share some statistics with you guys that is pretty shocking. But this is also the thing that made it super simple for me to evaluate and review my candidates. So the 3-step process I follow when it comes to hiring is 1 is somebody needs to submit their application. 2, I have to review their applications. Is 3, and then you have to follow up and select your candidate. So when it comes to this, how I actually did this. So step 1, submitting your application. You need to make it easy for somebody to actually submit their application, because if your process to even apply sucks, you could be steering away really amazing potential candidates because your process is too confusing or isn't clear and concise. So for me, I created a written application submission form using a Google form. So in the Google Drive, I created a Google form of my application. And this application, collected, just basic information and had them answer a couple questions. And then it also gave them a assignment to do at the very end of the application as like a second step. So you can use like a SurveyMonkey, Google Forms type form. I recommend just using some sort of virtual like survey questionnaire form collection type of form to be able to collect your applications versus just doing email. And when it comes to online and hiring a VA, like just reading somebody's resume and their cover letter to me isn't enough. Just because like, I don't know, to me, it's not hiring the same way as I would for like a corporate position. So I made them answer like 4 or 5 different questions in my application. And then these are some things that I did that helped really quickly distinguish candidates that helped me evaluate who I'd be selecting for my application, okay? So you don't have to do these, but these are things that I did that like really was quickly able to allow me to rule out people and actually allow people to rule themselves out. So one thing that I did on my application process is I requested that people take this personality assessment. And in my business, I operate under the Colby assessment. It's something that I have all of my clients do. It's something that I have all of my team members do, is I have them fill out and take this personality assessment. Granted, though, this personality assessment costs $50. So some people, I got a little bit of backlash saying you're going to have people fill out a $50 personality assessment to apply for your position. Like, that's not fair. And when you look at it in one, I respect that perspective. But at the back end, for my company culture and for where I'm going, like I want to know that people who come on my team, like, and this again is just knowing what characteristics of the people that you want to have on your team. But I want to know that people are willing to invest in themselves. And sometimes that means with time, money, and energy. So if somebody's not willing to pay $50 to take a personality assessment that I know, like for me, has been a game changer for me in my own business, but if they're not willing to do that to apply for the role, it doesn't immediately rule them out, but it does let me know a little bit about how they view their personal development and how committed they are to actually getting the job. And kind of a reference I use, maybe this is a bit of an extreme, but this is what I thought of when I was going through this, is like, think about all the jobs you apply for and they require you to have a bachelor's degree to even submit your application. How much are bachelor's degrees? Bachelor's degrees can range anywhere from like $30,000 to $100,000. And people go to college to get a piece of paper and drop racks to be able to prove or show that they are qualified to take on a new role. Granted, there are some jobs out there that do like legally require you to have a degree, but most of the jobs out there don't like legally require you to have that education. But an employer wants to know that, were you willing to spend 4 years dedicated to one thing and invest financially and show up for 4 years to get a degree that shows something about your character? And for me, I wanted to do a very similar assessment. So you having a bachelor's degree from working in my business, at least for this role, is not one that's like a deal breaker, but like me being able to evaluate what your personality is and whether or not that's going to be a good mesh for my personality, that's important to me. $50 is a lot better than 50 grand. So that was my reasoning behind requiring, or not necessarily requiring, it didn't immediately rule people out, but it allowed me to look at candidates. Are they willing to invest $50 in themselves? Are they willing to invest $50 to potentially get this role? Some said yes, some said no. Some put in the comments that they're not in a financial position to do so. And, you know, I respect that, but that's, again, for me, that's part of my evaluation process. And that's part of the characteristic traits of somebody I wanted to have on my team. Another thing with the personality assessment, and primarily the Kolbe assessment, is the Kolbe assessment is a assessment that tests the cognitive part of your brain, which determines how you take action. And based off of how I take action, I'm a very high quick start, meaning like when I get an idea, I typically will just like go and start executing without really taking the time to like plan the process and think through all the nitty gritty details. And it's a bittersweet thing, but this is why I always have typos. This is why like I will accidentally send the wrong link. Like this is why, like, you know, even me creating this free PDF cheat sheet that goes along with today's video, I created the PDF cheat sheet like an hour before we started this live stream, because a quick start in me was like, you know what, it'd be really helpful if people had a visual representation of what I'm talking about. You know what, I'm going to go make that. You know what, I'm going to go make an opt-in form. You know what, like I quickly will just go and do things. I need somebody on my team who will, as I'm implementing, will be able to create the process. Or be able to like, hold up, Jay, because you want to do this live stream, be able to ask the questions ahead of time. Are you going to create an opt-in or a cheat sheet for the people who watch? I'm probably going to be like, yeah, if it makes sense. Oh, okay, these are the things that we need to have in place in order for you to effectively deliver that cheat sheet. You know, versus me just thinking about it on the fly an hour before I go live. Like I need somebody on my team who can complement me and how they take action and how I take action. Again, that's another huge reason why I required people, well, not required, but asked people to take the Kolbe assessment before they applied. So that will immediately rule people out very, very quickly. And then also at the end of my intake form and my application submission form, I had people submit an additional assignment. So I had people submit a proposal detailing out, based off of the tasks I said that they were going to be completed in the job role, how much time that task would take. So basically, how many hours would they be working a week and how much would their monthly fee be? And it's amazing. And that also had a very specific subject headline that they had to include when they emailed me that proposal form. And this here is the thing that ruled out like 90% of the candidates. And it's crazy because I know, again, the reason why I'm doing this is I need somebody on my team who can pay attention to detail, who is detail oriented, who will be able to catch those little nuances and like implement that and do that. Because I know my quick start self, I typically miss those things. And out of the 70 people who applied, it was like 50 people actually submitted the application form and went through and actually like emailed me the proposal. It was like, but only 7 people out of the 70 total actually got all the instructions right on the application process. Hello, you just immediately ruled out like the other 63 people who submitted. And now you can just look at those 7 candidates who made it this far. So again, I asked people to take the Colby assessment, which is a $50 test. I had people submit the application form. I had them submit a proposal detailing out what their monthly rate would be and a time estimate of what they anticipate it would take to get the job tasks done. And then I had them, there was a very specific subject email headline they had to include. And it's crazy how many people did not get all those things right. So only 7 people made it through everything. Like, some people only would give me their hourly rate. They didn't give the monthly rate. And I specifically asked for the monthly rate. Some people, gave me like an overall time of what all the tasks would take, but they didn't detail out every single task and how much time each task would take. Some people completely messed up the subject email headline. So there's all these little nuances, but that is honestly the thing that helps me evaluate my candidates very, very quickly. And I'm spending time on this because I think when you're hiring, there's a lot of time and attention that goes into creating a job posting, putting it out there. But it can take a lot of time reviewing all these candidates if you get a ton of people sending you applications. So this allows people to rule themselves out. It makes it a lot easier for you to hire and to go through your candidates, okay? So any questions on that, pop it in the comments and let me know. But from there, after I reviewed, I started now when it comes to evaluating my candidates, I started with the 7 people who got everything right, meaning they did the Colby assessment, they submitted their application, they submitted their proposal, and they used the correct email subject headline. I started with those first 7 people. And it's crazy, 10%, that's 10% of the people who applied actually got through the entire application process correctly. But I started with those 7 people and I looked at those candidates and I put them in 2 categories. I picked 2 or 3 that were like, oh my God, yes, I would love to have them. And then I put the other 4 candidates into like a hold pile. And then I emailed all the candidates. So I emailed like the 63 candidates that I said no to. I emailed the 4 candidates that were on hold, a hold message saying, hey, you're still being considered for the position. And then I emailed the other 3 candidates like, hey, I would love to take this a step further and do a interview with you. And I did a Zoom video interview just so we could see each other and just get a feel for each other. And I did that and I asked a couple more questions in the interview process via Zoom. And then from there, I evaluated my candidates and selected my candidate. So I did include on page 7 of the cheat sheet some email template examples of the hire and no hire, like the wording that I used. So feel free to take that. But that's really how I went through and reviewed and selected my candidates for hiring for my position. So a couple like key things here is one is like help people weed themselves out. Like, and again, you don't need to do this for every position that you're hiring for because to some positions that you're hiring for is just this level of detail and scrutiny just isn't necessary. But for me, like hiring a VA, this is somebody I really want to have on my team long term, somebody that I want to be able to like grow with my business, somebody eventually who will potentially be working 30 or 40 hours a week for me. And this is what I wanted to grow into. So I really wanted to spend the time investing on finding the right candidate. So I recommend like a multi-step process for your application if you're having an ongoing position or if you're doing a larger financial investment to afford this team member into your business. I recommend doing some sort of phone interview or Zoom call interview as well. I asked some pretty specific questions about why they were interested in the role, things like that throughout the process as well. And then that's really how I evaluated and selected my candidates. So one thing that I was not anticipating, because I did select somebody. At first, I was looking for somebody for this position who already had experience in the online business. I was looking for somebody who I really wouldn't have to do so much training with, mainly because I thought, from where I'm at in my business, I'm making 6 figures. I want somebody to come in who already has a wealth of knowledge in regards to online business. So that was another thing that I used as a criteria when I was selecting my candidates, was picking somebody who was, been in the business for a couple of years, who's assisted other online entrepreneurs as a VA. And I had picked a candidate, selected a candidate, hired a candidate, declined everybody else, like everything was done. And it was crazy last week. So today is the day that I'm actually onboarding my new VA. But a week ago, or like, you know, a couple days ago or whatever, the person that I originally hired opted out. They were like, you know what, after really reviewing this, I feel like, you know, I've taken on a bit more of a commitment than what I can hold up to. I apologize for the inconvenience this might have had on you and your business, but I'm going to have to actually decline the position. And that was really tough for me to take at first, just because hiring your first like VA and hiring like a really significant role in your business is tough. You know, like I think for me, there's more mental blocks than anything else associated with it, because, you know, I'm like hiring somebody and knowing that like you are going to be responsible for part of their livelihood, responsible for their income, like there's just mental blocks that come into play, and it's just like, oh shit, I'm actually a real business owner. Oh crap, you know, I have to show up and be a different type of leader now. Like, you know, all these things. So there's all these mental hurdles. And then when she kind of backed out last minute, it kind of made me feel like, you know what, there's that little devil on my shoulder, that little negative Nancy, that little freak out Franny that I tell you guys about all the time. She's like, I told you so. You weren't ready to hire. You weren't ready to like take your business to the next level. You're not ready to keep going. And there was like a moment there where I had to check myself and like not let that limiting belief, not let that fear, worry, and doubt stop me. And I really got in tune and I said, what would success do? What would the $500,000 woman inside of me do in this moment if, you know, somebody they hired like backed out last second? And the beautiful thing about the application process that I set up and that we went through is that like one person out of the 70 said no. You still have 69 other candidates you can go look at that you've already vetted, that you've already reviewed, that all these things that have already been done. So it's not like you're starting over, Jay. You're just going back to the pile, reevaluating the candidate, like not even reevaluating, like picking the next candidate on the list. And it's just when you have a solid process in place, it sets you up for when roadblocks happen and allows you to pivot quickly. And it's crazy that that happened like, you know, 7 days ago or so. But now I have an amazing woman on my team that you guys will be able to meet soon. And, you know, I'm super excited. Like, I feel like, honestly, for what goes back to my core values of bringing somebody on my team that I can, you know, they're pouring into my business, but I'm able to pour back into them. And even if it does require a little bit more training, I think, again, one of my limiting beliefs about hiring was like, I don't have all my processes documented. It's not perfect enough. And when you have a business bestie who's like a systems guru, you know what good looks like. It's hard for you to like show up and not have everything done to like the standard that you know it can be done. So that was a roadblock for me, but it's like I got in action. You know, I dedicated time in my calendar to making sure that my processes were documented, that I had at least most of the stuff set up that I could start onboarding a team member so they'd be set up for success. But I went back to the pile and I started praying, and God really directed me to picking, like, why don't you ask this one particular person if they want to come on your team? And that's exactly what I did. And I'm super excited because today we have our team meeting and we're going to be onboarding the new VA, and you guys will be able to get to meet her soon because she's going to be really responsible for a lot of like the customer support, client experience, and a couple other things in the business. But again, having the process in place allowed me to bounce back, pivot, and adjust and really not derail my timeline for when I needed a team member. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. If this was helpful and you know anybody in your community or somebody in your Facebook realm or whatever would benefit from this, please feel free to share this video. If you want to see more of the specifics of what I talked about, your 4 quadrants, determining your budget, having email template examples of what to like how to communicate after you've selected your candidates, you can download the free PDF cheat sheet. Again, it'll be emailed out right after our Facebook live stream is over. But you guys can check that out there at bit.ly/Jereshia said 001. And let me go in now and look at all of the questions you guys had in the comments for those of you who are still on. So let me go back and look. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if this was or not. Mark said this is available in the cheat sheet. Yep, everything's available in the cheat sheet. Sarah said, love your video, very candid. Thank you, Sarah. I really try my best to be transparent and really show as much as I can about the behind the scenes of my business. Bonnie, you can click the link, the bit.ly/Jereshia said 001 to get the cheat sheet. Like I said, it'll be emailed out right after our live stream. Krista said, what personality type is ideal to have for a virtual assistant for the Kolbe assessment? I think that the ideal type is based off of what your Kolbe assessment is and what your needs are. So like for me, I'm a high quick start. I need somebody who's high follow through and high in systems, because my quick start self will just start going without like creating the process, creating the system, sometimes thinking through all the steps. I operate very quickly. And I need somebody who can catch my typos, who can ask questions about what we might need to successfully roll out a project beforehand. Because like I said, I created this cheat sheet literally an hour before we went live. Hence, probably that's part of the reason why you guys aren't be able to download it right now, because I didn't put it in the sequence. Like, again, I just quick started it. So it's based off of what your needs are. So maybe I'll do a video one day on like the Kolbe assessment, and that's KOLBE assessment. Camilla said, love that. I got a 2 for quick start, but I admire quick starts. I now see what you're saying and how the opposites can work well together. Yeah, because if I just hire a bunch of quick starts, we may be able to execute like crazy, but we're going to have a bunch of little things that we can potentially be missing because we're not like asking all the questions we need to be asking or documenting all of the processes. But Camilla, it's interesting, like me being a high quick start, usually most of my clients are low quick starts because when they work with me, because I'm a high quick start and they're a low quick start, working with a high quick start makes them start executing quicker. So even from a coaching perspective, that's why I love the Kolbe assessment, because a lot of my clients are either mirrors of me or complete opposites. So they're either high quick starts too, and they just love my energy and we can just roll quickly together, or they're super low quick starts, maybe like you particularly, and working with a high quick start helps you execute and implement faster. Love your process. Even though you're a quick start, your process is so well thought out. Thank you. So I'm a 4. What am I? I'm a 4, 5. I think I'm a 3, 4, 7, 2. So even though I'm not like super low in the fact finder in the systems, like when a system exists, I operate well in it. But I think the beauty of me personally is like having an engineering background. We're very process oriented and we're very like data analytically driven. And I think I had this beautiful mix of having an engineering background as an education, but I've never identified myself as a true engineer. Like I knew how to get through the workload. I knew how to understand the concepts. I knew how to like understand the process of being an engineer, but I've always been much more of like a creative, innovative type of person. So I don't say forcing myself, but basically, I mean, even me getting my engineering degree was because of a need. Like my aunt passed away and I had to make more money when I graduated from school to potentially take, just support the family. That's why I switched into being an engineer. It wasn't like I knew that and I was destined for it from the birth, like, I don't know. So I think that there's just a beautiful background of being able to have an engineering degree and be able to think through, be a critical thinker and like develop processes. But I need somebody on my team where like, that's their jam and they freaking love that stuff. To be able to like either document what I'm doing quickly, because sometimes I'll just start going and I don't think about the steps that I'm doing. So it's hard for me to backtrack and document that. So I need somebody who can do that or be able to ask the right questions of me when I do have one of my great ideas and they start mapping out the process before I even get going. Michelle said, great info. Thank you for this. I love how process minded you are. Thank you, Chi-Chi. That's the engineer in me. And having a business bestie who's a systems guru, like every time you talk to her, she always, we always talk numbers and processes like regularly. Tamisha said, very helpful. This was such good info, so timely. You're welcome, Lauren, giving us all the goods. Y'all know I try to give y'all the good stuff. I don't like coming with the fluff. Zanika, so don't wish that you're a quick start, like this is why it's important for you to understand what your strengths are and then to find people either like, and I think again, Zanika, Camilla, a lot of you guys are not high quick starts. That's why you guys probably work well when you come into my programs and systems. And I think this is even more valuable for people who are in my coaching program or in my mastermind, because working with a high quick start, whether that is a coach, is going to help you like take on more of their quick start nature. because they will be able to help you work out of, you not being able to go implement. But there's such beauty in not being a quick start too, because there's pros and there's not pros and cons, but we just have different strengths and weaknesses. And that's why I don't want to hire another quick start right now on my team. I need somebody who's a high fact finder and a high follow through. Stephanie said this was so good. Thank you. You guys are more than welcome. So look at all these Colby assessments. So yeah. Hey, Kelly. So I'm glad this was helpful, everybody. For people who are catching this in the replay, or if you are still watching live, if you have additional questions, pop it in the comments below. And again, definitely check out the free cheat sheets, which breaks down everything we talked about from a more visual perspective and will allow you to work through it so you can set up the things that you need in your business. So thank you guys so much for joining. Let me know, do you guys like having these Facebook Lives ahead of time, meaning like what the topic is going to be? You can kind of put it in your schedule, knowing when I'm going to go live. Do you like being able, again, to anticipate like what the topic is and whether or not it's helpful? So this is completely new for me in my business. This year, instead of focusing on another stream of income, I really wanted to focus on another stream of giving. And I wanted to be creating content for you guys on a more consistent basis that will help you grow and develop in your business, and really build that six-figure service-based business that you desire to have. So let me know if you like the idea of this show. Again, every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there will be a new episode. And you can go on my Facebook page or sign up at the to get Facebook Live reminders in your inbox, like in your messenger box, about 15 minutes before we go live. Roxine said yes. Planned lives are awesome. Bonnie said yes. Kelly, how do you increase certain areas like follow through? So follow through in the Colby assessment isn't so much about if you'll do what you say you'll do, but the follow through on the Colby assessment is more about systems. So if you have have a low number, like a less than a 3 in the follow through category of the Colby assessment, it means that you break systems. Meaning that like if somebody tells you to go into a course and watch video 1, then watch video 2, then watch video 3, you'll probably shoot yourself. You really have a struggle with being able to follow like a step-by-step process. If you're like a 3 to a 6 or so on the follow through category in the Colby assessment, it means that if a system already exists, you will integrate well into it. But you kind of have challenges being able to create your own systems. But if the system exists, you'll integrate well. And then if you're like a 7+ on the follow through, it means that you're good at creating systems and then following those systems. So really, the thing is how you take action, these numbers really don't change. This is not so much about how you can increase in your category. It's more about how can you make your schedule where you can have more time to do the things that you love doing and that you're great at doing, and then outsourcing and bringing in people on your team to do the other things. So like Kelly, if you have an issue with follow through, meaning like systems, what is your Colby assessment, Kelly? So maybe for you, if you have an issue with follow through or issue with systems, it's like you hiring a coach or you joining a course that has a very step-by-step process that you can follow to do whatever task you're trying to get done. Because if the system already exists, you might integrate well into it, but you just have an issue creating it on your own. And I know that for a lot of entrepreneurs, and I think why they love working with me is because like, if you're not good at creating your own process, maybe some people out there are really good at executing. Like if the steps are in place, and you tell me what I need to do, when I need to do it, I can go do it. But like determining what I need to do in the first place, like I'm a strategy person. I'm really good at creating a strategy and detailing out these are the things that need to be true in order for you to get the result you're looking to get. So maybe it's like you need to hire somebody who has a higher follow through, or again, who has people on their team who are creating systems that are more detailed oriented for you so you can go take action. I hope that makes sense. But really the beautiful part about the Colby assessment is it really does not change over the course of your lifetime. It's pretty consistent. Like if you go take the test again in 3 years, one number might change, like fluctuate 1 up or 1 down, but really it's going to be consistent. So it's go get the resources you need to fill in your gaps. Don't focus on trying to change what your gaps are. You guys like the plan lives. Okay, yes, having all the info. ahead of time is great. Can you plan around them and prioritize better that way? Okay, thank you, Lauren. Yeah, I'm going to keep doing this. Like I said, every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, there'll be a new episode. And then on my Facebook page, there are event reminders so you know what topics are going to be discussed when. And then you guys can sign up to get the messenger bot too. Michelle said, yes, having the topic ahead of time. I've been missing a lot over the past and got caught up. Usually my lunchtime, so I'm looking forward to watching. Yes, good. So today was all about your virtual assistant. You guys can, again, download the cheat sheets to get today's PDF to help you work through this. Next week, we're going to be talking about how I earned over $54,000 in 12 weeks. And this is really accompanying my income report. So every quarter, I publish a new income report. But next week is going to be talking all about the Q4 2017 income report review, how I earned over $54,000 in 12 weeks. During this week's live episode, you will learn, or during next week's, you'll learn how I earned that much, the lessons learned over the past quarter, and then my forecasted projections of what the next quarter is going to be like. So also, if you do want to receive a messenger reminder, you can click the bit.ly link here, the Facebook Live show, and you'll get a Facebook Messenger reminder about 15 minutes before we go live. So thank you guys again for joining. If you have more questions, pop it in the comments. Feel free to share this video if it was helpful, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye, y'all.